It's the gift-giving season, and we have a gift for you. Visit us online at KBLA.store for holiday savings of 20% off all of our KBLA swag. For the best in merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store right now. And be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all our official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580, at 20% off, but only during the holiday season. Happy holidays.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Good evening. This is
Avi Bernard.
Very happy I am to be back in the United States and back on the network, even for so short a visit as this one. A lot of people asked us to do it again, so it's gratifying to get the chance now. Personally, I've never met anybody who didn't like
KBLA Talk 1580.
But it seems I do have a reputation for the uncanny. I'm an overpaid producer with pleasant reasons to rejoice, and I do. But surely my right to having more than enough is canceled if I don't use that more to help those who have less. We must each day earn what we own. A healthy man owes to the sick all that he can do for them. An educated man owes to the ignorant all that he can do for them. A free man owes to the world's slaves all that he can do for them. If we can't die in behalf of progress, we can live for it. If we waste that gift, we won't have anywhere to hide from the indignation of history.
This is the Friday edition of Areva Martin in Real Time with Avi Bernard.
We did it. We did it, Joe.
The dawn is hours before. We knew it. Somehow we do it.
The cry for racial justice, some 400 years in the making, moves us. The dream of justice for all will be deferred no longer.
Welcome to the Friday edition of Areva Martin in Real Time. Avi Bernard here with you. Let's get you caught up. Former Trump campaign attorney Rudy Giuliani has been ordered to pay a staggering $148 million to two former Georgia election workers he spread lies about following the 2020 election. The decision comes at the end of the week today. The decision came in today at the end of a week-long federal civil trial in Washington, D.C., where an 8-person jury heard from the workers Wandrea Shea Moss and her mother Ruby Freeman about how 2020 election conspiracies spread by Giuliani and former President Donald Trump turned their lives upside down. In August, District Judge Beryl Howell found Giuliani liable for defamation due to his lack of cooperation in the case, and Giuliani conceded as part of the proceedings that his statements about Moss and Freeman were false. The European Union failed to agree on a 50 billion euro, which is about 54 billion in US dollars, 50 billion euro package in financial aid that Ukraine desperately needs to stay afloat, even as the bloc decided yesterday to open accession negotiations with the war-torn country. The aid was vetoed by Hungarian Prime Minister and close friend of Vladimir Putin, Viktor Orban, delivering another tough blow to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky after he failed this week to persuade U.S. lawmakers to approve an additional $61 billion for Ukraine, mainly to buy weapons from the United States. The start of the accession talks was a momentous moment and stunning reversal for a country at war that had struggled to find the backing for its membership aspirations and long faced obstinate opposition from Orban. The Republican-controlled House passed a final $886 billion defense policy bill yesterday, even though many conservative provisions had been stripped through negotiations with the Senate. The National Defense Authorization Act now heads to President Joe Biden, who is expected to sign it, ensuring that the defense policy legislation becomes law for the 63rd straight year. The 310 to 118 vote on the annual policy bill succeeded despite conservative opposition to a short-term extension of federal surveillance powers and the lack of hardline provisions on abortion, transgender troops, and diversity in the ranks. Former Speaker Kevin McCarthy, Republican of California, started this year hearing his name cast as Speaker, a dream he had held throughout his political career. But yesterday, McCarthy wrapped up his 2023 on Capitol Hill with a farewell speech. The California Republican said goodbye to Congress on a House floor that saw a 15-round Speaker election, multiple failed procedural votes, and the first ousted Speaker of the House in Congress's 234-year history. McCarthy secured the gavel in early January, only to lose it 9 months later. Earlier this month, McCarthy announced he would be leaving office at the end of the year to, quote-unquote, serve America in new ways. But Thursday was the last day of the House. The last day the House was in session of the year, and it was also McCarthy's last day as a member on Capitol Hill. After being elected to Congress in 2006, McCarthy's career as a congressman is now over. Cornel West does not think Joe Biden will make it to the general election. Instead, the independent presidential candidate suggested the sitting president could suddenly end his reelection bid the way President Lyndon B. Johnson did when he shocked the nation in 1968. West said he didn't think the president can sustain the mounting criticism he's been taking from the left on everything from the Israel-Hamas war to the economy. 70-year-old West said he may very well be running against the quote-unquote B team of Democrats, name-checking two blue state governors, Gavin Newsom of California and Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, even though Gavin Newsom has repeatedly said, including as recently as Wednesday, that he is not running for the 2024 nomination. A Mississippi grand jury has declined to indict a police officer who responded to a call and shot and seriously wounded an unarmed 11-year-old boy inside the home. The grand jury found that Indianola Police Sergeant Greg Capers did not engage in criminal conduct when he shot Adarian Murray in the chest on May 20th while responding to a domestic dispute. Murray was hospitalized for 5 days with a collapsed lung, lacerated liver, and fractured ribs from the gunshot wound in his chest. In a written statement, Carlos Moore, Murray's attorney, said the family would seek accountability through a federal civil lawsuit. Michael Carr, the attorney for the officer, said that the officer had suffered personally and financially due to the case and that the grand jury made the right decision. He also said the officer was looking forward to getting back to work. And finally, a Texas high school black student who has been disciplined and kept away from his classroom for months for the grave crime of refusing to change his hairstyle is not likely to be back with his regular classmates anytime soon. Efforts by Daryl George's attorney to ask a judge to pause his punishment by his Houston area school over his locks, as well as a civil rights lawsuit he and his family filed in September, remain on hold in federal court. But 18-year-old George returned to in-school suspension at his campus, Barbers Hill High School in Mont Belvieu, Texas, last week, and for now he will remain there. Before that, he had spent a month at an off-site disciplinary program for not cutting his hair. When we come forward, we're going to get into the Friday group chat. Always a pleasure to be joined by Danny Griffin, educator, entrepreneur, and motivational speaker, and Dr. Sean Fletcher, professor at San Jose State University. It's going to be a great conversation. We're going to talk about, in this first hour, all of the breaking news and headlines of the day, including Rudy Giuliani being forced to pay $148 million to the two black female election workers he defamed. $148 million, just to put that in context, he's going to make a little bit more than 2 years' worth of Shohei Ohtani's salary. He's going to pay, rather, a little bit more than 2 years' worth of Shohei Ohtani's salary to these black women. That seems like justice. We're going to talk about that in the first hour. And in hour number two, Ja Morant's suspension is getting ready to end. We'll talk about his testimony and how he got here in the first place. Also talk about Draymond Green and his suspension, his indefinite suspension, whether that's justified. Talk about Stephen A. Smith calling Zion Williamson fat. We'll talk about Shohei Ohtani's deal. And we'll talk about all of the things that are important to you today. All you have to do is give us a call and let us know. 800-920-1580. That's 800-920-1580. Kicking off the conversation when we come forward.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580. Environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
King C. Gillette knows you're dedicated to your barbershop routine, but how do you maintain the beard hair you already have? The King C. Gillette Beard Thickener helps to reduce patchiness and strengthens hair's resilience to breakage. Apply the King C. Gillette Beard Thickener daily to see a thicker and fuller beard in just 14 days. It's highly scented with King C. Gillette's signature scent. Just trim, wash, and soften. With King C. Gillette.
Hey, it's Amanda, and a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A nugget trays is that they're so easy for the holidays. They're warm and flavorful. It's always a crowd pleaser. When I put down a nugget tray, everyone is happy.
Hey, this is Brian, and the little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A nugget trays is the joy that it brings to me and everybody around me during the holidays. They're warm, juicy, and delicious.
Cater the holidays with Chick-fil-A today. Available on the Chick-fil-A app. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
And when I left the oven on, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan.
Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
The way we spend our time defines who we are. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
And it is the Friday edition of Areva Martin in Real Time. Avi Bernard here with you every Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific. And appreciate you joining us, whether you're listening on 1580 AM here in Los Angeles or the free KBLA app from anywhere, or listening to and watching us on YouTube. You can watch us live on YouTube, and you can be part of the conversation. The number is 800-920-1580. That's 800-920-1580. All right, gentlemen, Dr. Sean Fletcher of San Jose State University joining us. Sean, what's the word? Thanks for joining us today.
What's going on, good brothers? Happy Friday to you.
Oh, yes, it is a happy Friday indeed. Danny, welcome to the show. How's it going today?
Oh, man, wonderful. Blessed, man.
Yes, sir. Let's get into it, man. Let's talk about this ruling I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for this all week, and especially today, knowing that deliberations were continuing among the jury about how to punish Rudy Giuliani. How much would he be liable to pay these two black women, Shay Moss and her mother, Ruby Freeman? He had already been found liable, and he had already conceded that he just made up the stuff he said about them. He just made it up. And these women went through a really horrible and intense amount of abuse at the hands of Donald Trump supporters because of the horrible crime of doing their job as election workers. And Rudy Giuliani and Donald Trump, they leveled just senseless and racist attacks on them, saying they were acting like drug dealers, accusing them of stealing the Georgia election from them, even though there is proof that Donald Trump himself tried to steal it. There is audio proof of him saying, find me the votes that I don't have. But of course, Donald Trump is going to project everything he does onto other people. And Rudy Giuliani was more than happy to help him do that. For what reason? I don't know. I have no idea what has been going on with Rudy Giuliani these past however many years, but he has turned into a really sad, pathetic shell of the man who used to be America's mayor, even though that man was also horrible. But at least back then, he wasn't like somebody's assistant. He wasn't getting somebody's coffee. So the jury found today that Rudy Giuliani has to pay these women $148 million. 148. That is awesome. That is what I'm talking about. They asked for $24 million each, at least. They got a lot more than that. And I know that Rudy Giuliani has a cash flow problem. He's as broke as he is pathetic these days. And that's a very high bar. But let's get into it, Dr. Fletcher. Rudy Giuliani, $148 million. Your thoughts?
Listen, what do we always say? When you play stupid games, you get stupid prizes. And he number one, he's getting exactly what he deserves. And he still hasn't learned. He clearly hasn't learned. Shortly after the verdict came down, he went outside and held the impromptu press conference and defamed them again. He defamed Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman again. To the extent that shortly before we went on air, Von Dubose, their lawyer, was on MSNBC, and the question was posed to him, similar to what E. Jean Carroll did, sued Donald Trump twice for the same thing, defamation of character, when he lost the judgment and then defamed her again. The question was posed to their lawyer, could you potentially sue him again? He said, absolutely, based on what he did today, again. So the man doesn't get it, and it's indicative of this entire road to nowhere thought process and strategy that he and the Trumpians have been touting for the last several years, to where there's no end to it. They don't know when to get off the sinking ship. This man already owes over $500K in unpaid taxes. He got liens on his property, probably got boots on his car, got all kinds of stuff going on financially. Where is he going to get this $148 million from to pay them? And the beauty of it all is that Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman's lawyer also said that they plan to get every single nickel from him, whether it be through lien, garnishments, levies, anything. This man has become such a sycophant of Donald Trump, to where, as we've talked about in previous shows, he is about to go down, and Donald Trump is about to be the nominee again for the Republican Party. So what do these people get out of becoming blind servants of this man? Rudy Giuliani is disgraceful, but it's also a sign of politics where folks are willing to sell their souls and ultimately their livelihood for this man for some reason. So justice was served.
Yeah, for some reason. That's what just really I can't wrap my mind around is why. Why do you do this? Because you're obviously not getting a lot of money for it. As you so adequately outlined, Dr. Fletcher, the dude is broke in every way possible, and he ain't getting like some financial windfall from being Donald Trump's sidekick or whatever, because Donald Trump don't pay people. Donald Trump does not pay people, even to whom he owes money to. He does not pay people. And so you're doing this just because you want to be next to him? I mean, hey, find someone who looks at you the way Rudy Giuliani looks at Donald Trump. That might be. Go ahead.
Hey, Avi, the funny thing about it is that Rudy went to Donald Trump to help pay off some of his legal fees. Trump wouldn't cut him a check. Trump he put together a fundraiser for him and then made Rudy pay for his own plate at the dinner. How hilarious is that? Of what the man thinks of you.
That is quite hilarious. And Donald Trump is saying, listen, man, I also don't have a lot of money. He's probably saying, listen, I know that you might think I'm a billionaire, but I'm actually not. Because Donald Trump might lose $250 million himself, and I don't know if Donald Trump has $250 million. Okay, he claims to be a billionaire, but Danny, are you sad for for old Rudy there that he's going to lose all this money?
I could care less. I mean, this man is he was mayor. I mean, successful lawyer. He's had a whole lot of success. It's time to pay the piper. When you do people wrong, you got to pay. Okay, nothing's for free.
Yeah, man. This he's actually he's going to be the subject of today's What in the White Privilege, and we'll play some of his comments after he was found liable for $148 million today, because it's a level of hubris and thick-headedness that is really hard to comprehend, and that's where the white privilege comes in, because you or I or Dr. Fletcher would not be we would think, you know what, I just lost all this money, maybe I should just shut up. Maybe I shouldn't say anything else on this subject. Maybe. But that clearly didn't even cross his mind. His thick-headed hair dye rolling down his face self couldn't even think about that.
Don't get us canceled, Avi.
I might, and it might be worth it. All right, let's go on to more damage that Donald Trump and his folks have done. The European Union failed to agree on a 50 billion euro package in financial aid to Ukraine, which is the equivalent of about 54 billion US dollars. And this is only because one nation vetoed it, and that is Hungary. That is Viktor Orban of Hungary. That nation's prime minister, that nation's equivalent to a president. He is a hard right-wing authoritarian dictator, just like Vladimir Putin, just like Donald Trump wishes he could be. He is a close friend of Vladimir Putin. He will do whatever Vladimir Putin wants, and he has the power to block, apparently, at least for now, this money, this aid from getting to Ukraine, which will, if that money doesn't get to Ukraine, then Ukraine will most certainly lose to Russia. And Vladimir Putin's friend is in a position to help Vladimir Putin because his friend's country is in the European Union. And this is just so upsetting in so many ways. And I talked about, I started this story with, let's talk about more damage that Donald Trump has done. This is all because Donald Trump is a fan of Putin. He wants to be friends with him. He'll do whatever he wants. He did get his help in the election, in the 2016 election. And that's not just something that, Russiagate. He said, Russia, if you're listening, I sure would like to find those emails from Hillary Clinton the same day the DNC was hacked by Russia. So anyone who thinks that wasn't something that actually happened, it was. And so because Donald Trump is this big fan of Russia, he wants Russia to be able to take over Ukraine. And now Vladimir Putin's friends, Donald Trump and Viktor Orban, are actually helping that happen. Donald Trump by influencing enough U.S. congressmen to not support the aid for Ukraine, and Vladimir Putin's friend Viktor Orban, the Hungarian prime minister, from blocking this aid from the European Union. It is just so upsetting to me. And I don't even know if there's a question in here for you, Dr. Fletcher, but here, I'm just going to pass the mic to you because it's so upsetting, this whole situation to me.
Yeah, it's more of the same. It is politics playing out on a global stage for all of us to see. And I would just say, believe what you see, those of us who are watching it, because it's a den of thieves. And it's not a matter of conspiracy theory or cynicism or political fatigue, whatever the case may be. It is quite literally playing out on a global stage, and people are pawns within all of this. Lives are at stake within all of this, and we're playing political chess and political theater to where, get this, it is quite literally a race against the clock, because there's no need to vote on Ukraine meeting the stipulations to join the European Union if there is no Ukraine. If Ukraine is under the power if Vladimir Putin has it his way, if it is under his reign, if they run the clock out against them from giving them this aid to go and defend themselves. And the irony of all of that is that Zelensky is saying, EU, we need this aid, so largely we can go buy weapons from guess who? The United States of America. So when we're talking about political chess on a global stage, it is not just leaders amongst leaders. There are people who are dying while leaders are sitting there moving us around this global chessboard where there are people who need aid, people who need money, people who are trying to defend themselves, and we're sitting here quibbling over who gets what vote to protect various people. Ukraine needs the EU. It doesn't operate like NATO. There's no defense, no military support, but it operates very much like a defensive wall against Russia. So Orban knows exactly what he's doing. You're absolutely correct, man. And that's the sad part from my vantage point. It's another example of global political chess, and people are dying as a result of it.
Danny Griffin, jump in here.
Well, first of all, if Ukraine joined the EU today, they would be the poorest country, okay? And they also would be the fifth largest populous country since 1980. Being in the EU, you get $20 billion a year, just on the strength, okay? That's a lot of money. But if the country's ravaged, we're talking about possibly $400+ billion to get it back, reconstruction plus infrastructure to get it all, let alone if people got to be alive to, you know what I mean? So this is almost like a genocide, and Russia is actually trying to annex. Well, they have annexed some parts of Ukraine, but we all know what other country would like to do the same thing to Taiwan, China. So we have to step in because these are allies, and if Russia does this, it definitely hurts America's interests abroad and domestically as well. But you also got to understand that Ukraine is one of the top countries in the world when it comes to grain, right? And Poland don't like that because Poland making money. So just think of, agriculture. This is another big thing going on. So they don't want them in the EU because they're about to make some money.
Not to cut you off, Danny, we got to step aside real quick for some news, traffic, and sports, and we'll get back to it right after this quick news, traffic, and sports update on KBLA Talk 1580.
We wish you a holiday season filled with peace and love and a new year rich with blessings. Mask up and stay safe. From all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
People making lists, buying special gifts.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. NBA Hall of Famer and two-time ABA champion George McGinnis, who is black, has died. Before the NBA took in the Indiana Pacers and the other three remaining American Basketball Association teams, in 1976, McGinnis helped lead the Pacers to a pair of ABA titles. McGinnis played in 3 NBA All-Star games and 3 ABA All-Star games, making him one of the only 5 players all time to do so. He played for the Philadelphia 76ers and the Denver Nuggets before retiring as an Indiana Pacer in 1982. SZA, who is black, has no more accomplishments to cross off her bucket list. In a conversation with Zane Lowe for Apple Music, the singer confessed that she doesn't have any more goals for her music career because she's already accomplished them. She went on to say she's done everything she never thought she would, like going platinum, meeting and working with Beyonce, headlining a festival, being nominated for and winning a Grammy, and more. That's the latest. I'm Tyreek Wynn on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Keeping you updated with the latest from the 710 North in Monterey Park at the 10. A brush fire remains on the right shoulder of the on-ramp, and heavy traffic flow continues from Atlantic. Banditti Boulevard split up to 20 minutes. In Irvine, watch for a 25-minute traffic jam that continues to run heavy on the 5 North between Jeffrey Road and Harbor Boulevard. CHP is currently on the scene on the 101 North in Encino, as a stall is currently blocking the second lane from the left, just before White Oak Avenue. An expected 40-minute traffic jam running heavy from Coldwater Canyon.
Looking for a better way to get around LA? SoCal 511 gives you real-time traffic alerts to help you find faster ways to get around LA County. It's totally free and helps motorists easily find fast track and roadside assistance services. Visit go511.com or dial 511 on your phone.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Chargers owner Dean Spanos wasted no time to ease the misery of his team's fan base. He fired head coach Brandon Staley Friday morning, less than 24 hours after he saw his team give up a franchise record 63 points to the Raiders Thursday night in Vegas. Spanos also fired general manager Tom Telesco. Spanos has seen enough. He wants to get a head start on rebuilding things for next year. Staley was 24-24 and took the Chargers to only one playoff appearance. That playoff game left a lingering bad taste on Staley's legacy. That's when the Chargers blew a 27-point lead in the second half at Jacksonville and lost. Since Staley was hired in 2021, the Chargers lost 11 games by 3 points or less, and this season they have the NFL's worst pass defense, allowing 283 yards per game. Yep, time for a change. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's the gift-giving season, and we have a gift for you. Visit us online at KBLA.store for holiday savings of 20% off all of our KBLA swag. For the best in merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store right now. And be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all our official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580, at 20% off, but only during the holiday season. Happy holidays.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Feel the warmth of the holiday spirit with Assembly Member Isaac Bryan, Special Needs Network Incorporated, and the Social Justice Learning Institute. We're thrilled to invite you to Christmas in the Park, a joyful, free event packed with love, community, and festive cheer. Join us this Sunday, December 17th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Lamert Plaza Park. It's a day filled with fun, laughter, and togetherness. Snap a memorable photo with Santa, savor tasty treats, and watch your children's eyes sparkle at our magical toy giveaway. Plus, we're bringing more to the table with food distribution, lively DJ and dancing, creative arts and crafts, and engaging community activities. Don't miss out. For more details, visit xmaspark.eventbrite.com. That's xmaspark.eventbrite.com. Join us at Christmas in the Park and create unforgettable memories with your community this Sunday, December 17th. Let's celebrate the season together.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment. LA's 99 neighborhood councils form the grassroots level of the Los Angeles city government. The system was created to connect LA's diverse communities to City Hall. While neighborhood council board members are volunteers, they are also public officials elected to office by the members of their community. Neighborhood councils advocate on issues like homelessness, housing, land use, emergency preparedness, public safety, parks, transportation, and sustainability. They also provide local expertise on the delivery of city services to their various communities. Neighborhood councils are open to participation by anyone who is a part of the fabric of daily life in said community. This includes those who live, work, or own property or a business. If you are interested in stepping up to join your local neighborhood council, visit www.empowerla.org. That's empowerla.org. It's time to think globally, but act locally. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
There's no time like the present. Let's get back to more of Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Friday edition of Areva Martin in Real Time. It's the Friday group chat with friends of the show, Danny Griffin, educator, entrepreneur, and motivational speaker, and Dr. Sean Fletcher of San Jose State University. All right, Danny, I had to interrupt you in front of your comments. You were spitting some fire on Ukraine, so go ahead and finish your thought.
I mean, it's so crazy how an embattled country that is being, ravaged, by Russia's military, and they're so poor in that part of the world, but they have agriculture, and it just lets you think about when you have natural resources, you become a target, right? And when you're resilient, and when people are resilient, you become a target. It reminds me of Africa with with some of the similar situations with natural resources and issues with military and people coming in trying to run them, and I mean people just want to take these people over because they don't respect them, and we gotta support them, and we gotta write some checks because if we don't write these checks, Russia gonna cash some checks from somewhere else, and it's going to affect us on the back end. You know what I mean? So hopefully we can get this done. And regardless, the EU membership takes decades. Hungary, it took 10 years. So some people, this could take 20 to become an EU member. This doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, they've been trying for a long time.
Yeah, they've been trying for a long time. So they may not even actually get in for 10 years plus. So, it's a temporary Band-Aid. But, get these people some money. I don't have it, but hopefully somebody gives some money.
Yeah, hopefully the United States Congress will give them
using
some
rocks
money.
or something, paper airplanes.
Well, yeah, that ain't going to work against Russia, unfortunately. But, yeah, and not only do you become a target when you have resources like agriculture, but you become a target from Russia if you used to be a member of the USSR like Ukraine was, and Vladimir Putin is hell-bent on kind of putting that back together. All right, let's talk about Cornel West. Let's talk about Cornel West. He doesn't think that Joe Biden will make it to the general election. So remember Cornel West, he came out and he was running for the Green Party nomination, and they eventually cut ties. And that was a big blow to the already impossible campaign that Cornel West was going to run. Impossible in the sense that it was impossible for him to win. He was already not going to win, and then he parted ways with the Green Party, and that means it's going to be a lot harder for you to get on the ballot. It's a lot of work to get on the ballot in every single state, and so that is something that it's still unclear whether he'll be able to do. And so his campaign is not going anywhere, and he is saying that he doesn't think Joe Biden will make it to the general election. He thinks he's going to eventually step aside. And let's just look at the timeline of what Cornel West is saying. The primaries, the primaries and caucuses, they're starting in about a month or two, about 5 or 6 weeks. And you cannot just put someone into the race at this point. Joe Biden is running. Joe Biden is going to run. He's going to be the Democratic nominee. So you can talk about concerns about his age, which I understand. What I don't understand, quick side note, I don't understand how you can talk about his age and not talk about Trump's age. They're almost the same age. And Trump is a lot crazier and makes a lot less sense. But because he's crazy, he maybe looks like he has more energy. But listen to his speeches. He has wrongly said he ran against Obama. He is getting stuff confused. Almost cursed. He is getting stuff confused all the time in his speeches now. He is declining. If anyone is declining, he is declining. And y'all want to talk about Joe Biden's age. But anyway, if you have concerns about Joe Biden's age, I understand that. I get it. But he's going to be the nominee. He's done a great job. And so if you don't want Donald Trump to be president, you need to chill on your ageism and go ahead and ride with Biden. You need to do that. Because otherwise we're going to look at the end of democracy. I promise you that much. So Cornel West is on this what I've been calling since the beginning, this whole self-aggrandizing campaign. And he says that he thinks he'll end up running against the quote-unquote B team of Democrats, including Gavin Newsom and Gretchen Whitmer. Okay, so if they're the B team, Cornel West, what are you? What are you? You would lose to either of them also. I promise you. You're not winning. You're not winning anything. And it bothers me because Cornel West is a brilliant mind and he cares about black people, but I don't understand where his logic brings him around to running this campaign. I don't get that. Dr. Fletcher, your thoughts?
It's difficult to try to make heads or tails of the good brother Dr. West. This isn't politically sound on any level. And I could understand if he was positioning his cachet and himself in order to lobby for, further resources or provisions for the Black community or for, other marginalized, disenfranchised communities. But he's playing a very dangerous political game here. Again, you're almost cutting off your nose to spite your face with this. This is almost, Alan Greenspan, Ralph Nader territory of if you were to gain some sort of third party stature, what would you be doing short of splitting the vote anyway if your wildest dreams came true? And by splitting the vote, oftentimes you end up putting the advantage in the hands of the very individual and party you don't want to do. So my question is what is his end game within all of this, unless it is what you're saying, a self-aggrandizing campaign that he's on that's very dangerous, in my opinion, because history has shown us that, again, whatever cachet that you have with whatever segment of the voting population, many of those folks will either decide to vote for you, which they're not going to do because you're probably not going to own a ticket, or you're going to deter them from voting altogether, which again will potentially sway the voting percentages in that favor of Donald Trump. So it's just not politically sound on a number of different levels.
And, and very, very well said, Dr. Fletcher. And to that point, if you are thinking about not going out and voting, if he does persuade people from not voting, then he is, and he says, he did say, well, I'm not going to be spoiling anything. A vote for Trump is a vote for Trump, and a vote for Biden is a vote for Biden. And if you vote for me, then you're not helping Trump get elected. Actually, you are. You actually are. Mm-hmm. And if you're thinking for Cornel West talking about that they both are bad choices, no, man, that is exactly the kind of BS that is going to get Trump elected again. And why is that such a big deal? You're talking about the person and the party who dismantled the Voting Rights Act. The Voting Rights Act, which was put in place because we were not able to vote. Because we wanted protections for our vote. We needed protections for our vote. And this party, the Republican Party, doesn't want us to have those protections. And you're going to vote for that party. If there were no other issues, would that not be enough? What else do you need to know about them? They have Nazis at their rallies. What else do you need to know about them? Yeah, Joe Biden doesn't do everything you want him to do. He doesn't have a perfect past, but look at what he's doing now. And look at the opposition. Look at the alternative. And that's what he always says. Don't compare me to the Almighty, compare me to the alternative. The alternative took away the Voting Rights Act. The alternative took away your right to have an abortion. What else do you think they're going to go after? Danny, your thoughts on Cornel West before we step aside?
Dr. West is too brilliant just to be randomly joining in a race that he knows he can't win. It's something else. I said that before when we discussed this before. He thinks ahead. He knows about the past, current. I mean, he's just not just somebody. I mean, obviously you bring attention to yourself when you run, right? Mm-hmm. And
that's the whole point for some people.
And obviously we don't know, what Dr. West has up his sleeve in terms of his next, step in life, whether it be a book or a professorship somewhere or speaking engagement. You don't know. But he has something. He's just not randomly, I'm going to join the race and start talking. And, he's too smart for that. So regardless of what he does, if it splits parties or whatever, he has something up his sleeve. He's just not messing, he's just not making a grave mistake. He knows something. Now, what that is, I don't know. And since I don't know that, it's hard for me to kind of go at him and say what he's doing because I don't know his end game. But I do know that if anybody votes for him and former President Trump does win ultimately, then that's what he actually did, was help split the vote, whether he says he did or not, right? Because if somebody votes for him, that's what actually happened. And unfortunately, right now, we need great leadership. I don't care what party, Democrat, Republican. We got to have somebody to steer us in the right direction, right? For those people that have kids, and we want quality lifestyle. These interest rates are crazy. Mortgage rates are crazy. Food prices. A lot of people are making money right now, but the people, the constituents, are suffering. You're not talking about the people that have. We're talking about the people that have some and the people that don't have. We're hurting here, and we're watching money go other places. We're watching, our business and other people. Everybody don't understand politics. Everybody don't understand about Israel, Hamas, and Ukraine. Everybody didn't go to school. Everybody's not educated in this area. Some people are just going 9 to 5 and taking care of their families. So you're dividing people by not having lack of knowledge. And if you're not going to educate people, but you're dividing people, I have a problem with that. Because then you're getting a group of people to follow you, and they don't know why they're following you, and you're dividing the vote. And I'm not just speaking of Corner West. I'm speaking of anybody that has a platform that's speaking and they don't know what they're talking about. It's just too many microphones out there, too many opinions. That's just dividing us all in all areas, especially politics today. And we got to shut this down. The people that need to speak need to speak.
What he's doing is harmful, regardless of what his end game is. He's 70 years old, and I think maybe he just wants some attention.
That could be it.
70 years old. Maybe you're having a 3/4 of life crisis, and you're thinking, I don't know what else I'm gonna do. But you're not helping anybody by doing this. That is for sure. So step aside, man. I say that with respect to Dr. West. Step aside, please. When we come forward, what in the white privilege? Right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Areva time is the right time. More of Areva Martin in real time when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, Maisha Cairo here, KBLA, live at Chase Bank on Crenshaw and Vernon for the In This Together tour with female business owners, a day of empowerment, community panels, and best of all, tips on building business from marketing to capital. I'm here with Lisa Stevens, Senior Business Consultant with Chase for Business. Lisa, what's one tip you'd give to business owners here in the Crenshaw area?
I love that you asked that question. I'm originally from Brooklyn, and I grew up in an area that's very similar to Crenshaw. So this is near and dear to my heart. And if I could only leave a business owner with just one, I would tell the business owner to identify their why. And I think that is so important because your why is going to be that strength on those days where you feel like you're struggling. Your why is going to be that stepping stone. Those days that you want to give up, your why is going to be the reason that you get back up.
And how would you advise business owners looking to acquire capital? What do they need to know before stepping inside the branch to ask for funding?
So 3 things. I do want to share this when it comes to the power of capital and just finding those resources. Understand that capital is a 3-part of a business, right? It's not always about the monetary piece, but if you first put that intellectual, right? What do I need to know? That social, who I need to know, that will help you to then package for that monetary piece. So no matter who you're banking with, you should know your banker. Never walk into a bank and you're transactional only.
It's just like Lisa to drop gems. I'm Maisha Cairo in the community for KBLA with JP Morgan Chase.
I'm MC Light for Hip Hop Heritage, celebrating 50 years of hip hop, authentically powered by Cadillac. From its earliest days of show-stopping, DJs and MCs cold rocking parties, to its dominance on the music charts, hip-hop has been the biggest game changer in American music, and I mean ever. And it's not just about the music. It's how we celebrate, how we communicate, how we continue to elevate. Check out Cadillac and see how our swag has evolved and continues to revolve around the world.
For more on how Cadillac is celebrating hip-hop's 50th, visit Cadillac.com/audacity.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Friday edition of Areva Martin in real time. It's the Friday group chat with Dr. Sean Fletcher of San Jose State University and Danny Griffin, both friends of the show, friends of the program, not program. And so it is that time for the segment we do every week, What in the White Entitlement? Andy, who's at the door?
It's white.
So who's at the door today? I'll give you a hint. He has hair dye running down his face. We talked about him earlier. It's Rudy Giuliani. And Dr. Fletcher mentioned the press conference, the impromptu press conference that he gave right after, immediately after, a jury found him liable for $148 million for defaming two black women in Georgia and lying about their involvement in the big lie in what Donald Trump and his friends claimed to be a stolen election. Giuliani was a big part of that in the state of Georgia and elsewhere. And one way he did that was by making up claims about two black female election workers and saying that they helped steal the election when all they did was do their doggone job. And today he got found liable for that to the tune of $148 million. And immediately after that happened, let's hear what he had to say. Andy? All right, pause it, Andy. So it was very faint and difficult to hear, but let me just tell you what happened in that beginning part, and then we'll get back to it. Giuliani's walking up to the mic, and someone says, "Do you regret what you did or what you said?" And Giuliani laughed and said, "I don't regret anything." If that isn't white privilege, I don't know what is, but go on and continue, please, Andy.
Of course, there's very little I can say right now. I have to analyze this. Obviously, possibly we'll move for a new trial. Certainly we'll appeal. The absurdity of the number merely underscores the absurdity of the entire proceeding, where I've not been allowed to offer one single piece of evidence in defense, of which I have a lot. So I am quite confident when this case gets before a fair tribunal, it'll be reversed so quickly, it'll make your head spin. And the absurd number that just came in will help that, actually.
Why did you choose not to
Why
testify
do you think it
today?
was unfair? You say it was an unfair tribunal. Why do you think it was unfair?
Because I cannot go into the details. I didn't testify because the judge made it clear that if I made any mistake or did anything wrong, she was considering contempt. And this judge does have a reputation for putting people in jail. And I thought, honestly, it wouldn't do any good.
Do you still believe that what you said about these two women in the wake of the 2020 election was truthful?
Do you still believe these claims?
Still believe those
I have no doubt. I have no doubt that my comments were made and they were supportable and are supportable today.
Okay, let's get it there. They were supportable and they're supportable today. I don't regret anything. But even though I admitted to this trial was unfair, and the number was too large, but I admitted to this already. But the trial is unfair, and yes, I still believe that what I said was true. Somehow, even though I already admitted to this, I still believe that what I said was true. This dude, it's hard to comprehend the level of white privilege involved in Rudy Giuliani. And it's all in that clip and the context therein. This dude cannot help himself. He cannot just take the L and move on. Take the L and move on. And that's what white privilege is. It doesn't allow you to do. It doesn't allow you to take the L. Because you can't fathom having to lose something. You can't even believe that you might be wrong, that you might have lost because you did something wrong, even though you admitted to doing that thing wrong. That's what privilege is right there. And that is why Rudy Giuliani is the subject of this week's What in the White Privilege.
It's white.
Any other thoughts on what we just heard, Dr. Fletcher, before we move on?
Well, I mean, just the umbrella topic that you just talked about, white privilege. I mean, white privilege means you don't have to concede. And that they're basking in it. All of them, fill in the blank on who them are. All of them are basking in what the underlying premise of white privilege is you don't have to concede because the system was made for you. The system will come and save you. At some point, if you continue to play by the rules, the system will come and save you. Hence why the GOP is starting to cannibalize itself and turn on each other, because they're claiming if you stay with the company line, it's all going to work out in the end because it's all made for us. The Supreme Court is made for us. The laws of the land are made for us. We're playing by the rules of this game. So why would you go against the game that is rigged for us? White privilege says Rudy Giuliani can walk out of that courtroom and toe the line and say what he wants to say. And at some point down the line, privilege is going to bring this man back somehow, some way, going to bring this man back to some sort of status that allows for him to recoup whatever he's going to lose. That's privilege. He's playing the game.
Factual. 30 seconds for you, Danny, if you want it.
I can't give it to Giuliani. No more Giuliani headlines. What's the comedian? Is it Bubba Dub?
I don't know who
is
that
is.
is.
Trash, man. He's trash.
Andy says that you're right. It's Bubba Dub.
Yeah, Bubba Dub. Trash. That's all I got to say. Trash, man.
That is enough.
Sums it up.
We could have. You know what? I wish you would have said that in the beginning. We could have saved ourselves an hour.
Yeah, man.
We could have just said Rudy Giuliani. You could have said trash, man.
We
trash.
talking about a millionaire that don't care about all people, man. He's selfish, man.
Got to give a shout out to some people listening and watching on YouTube. Fahima Sek, Pretty Brown, Mimi, Howard, of course, as always, and Carl Brewer. Appreciate y'all. Oh yeah, Howard. In hour number 2, I'm gonna need you to go ahead and dial that number that we talked about last week.
I'm gonna need you to call back.
I'm gonna need you to call back like we talked about last week. 800-920-1580. 800-920-1580. Anytime between 5:10 and 6 p.m. Pacific will do, Howard. Okay, the lines we will keep one open for you. When we come forward, we are going to get into the second hour of the group chat. We will. If Howard does make good on his promise last week that he would call back, then we will discuss just briefly. You know, we have to have that conversation because Howard did call last week and he's a Pacer fan. So, and now y'all stealing balls from Giannis. Y'all not letting him get his game ball when he scored 64 points. I mean, y'all are still sour. You're still sour from losing the championship in the NBA in-season tournament. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Ja Morant. We'll talk about Draymond Green and a lot more in the second hour of the Friday group chat right here on KBLA Talk 1580, right after this news, traffic, and sports update.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Chicago, Illinois Mayor Brandon Johnson, who is black, is unveiling his public safety plan for Chicago. The mayor says the People's Plan for Community Safety will tackle the problem of crime through outreach and intervention with youth and adults historically impacted by violence. It will also focus on addressing the root causes of violence through long-term